Okay, welcome to the new class of object-oriented programming using C++. From today, I'll create videos on object-oriented programming, various topic of object-oriented programming using C++, and today's topic will be static keyword. So basically, static keyword we can use at various places in our C++ program. We can use static keyword inside a function. We can use a static keyword uh, within class. Within class, we can use it at two places. We can use it with the member function of the class, and we can also create. We can also use it with the member variable of the class. So let's first see the static variable in a function. When we let's take example. Let's create a function show. If we declare a static variable inside this function like this, static int x a is equal to 0, and let's print the value of a. Now what will happen when we call it multiple times? If I call this show method say 3 times, then it will retain its previous value. It retains its previous value. Means if I call it 3 times, the output would be 1, 2, and 3. Let's call it 3 times show, show, and again show, like this. So the output will be 1, 2, and 3. But if it would be, if we use the normal automatic variable, then the output will be 1, 1, and 1. 1, 1, and 1. The next case is we can use a static keyword. Inside the class. Static variable, sorry, it is static keyword. Static keyword with class variable. If we use the static keyword with class variable, only one copy of the class variable is created. Unlike auto variable, let's see this with an example. Class A. Let's create two type of variable. One is normal auto variable like int A, and the second one is the static variable, static int B. Now, if I create three objects of this class A like this, A1, A2, and A3, three copies of variable A will be created. Suppose this box represents object A1, A2, and A3. A1, A2, and A3. Then separate copies of variable A will be created for each object A, but all the objects will share the same variable, same static variable B. By this, what we mean, if we make any change to this static variable B, that change will be reflected on all the objects of the class. Now suppose I change the suppose I assign a value uh, a of a1 as 10. Similarly, if I assign variable a of a2 as some other value, they will be different, but the static variable will the value of static variable will be shared among all the objects. Now the third usage is we can use static keyword with class function, with the function inside the class. Let's see an example. Suppose class A, inside this class let's create a static variable A and variable B, and in the public section let's create a method static void show, and let's print some message inside static method show. So the purpose of using a static method is that we can access it without any object. We can directly access this show method using the class name like this, a scope resolution operator, and let's call the method show. So this will call the show method without any object. The next usage of a static keyword is we can use a static keyword with global variable. The static keyword with global variable. In C++, we can create functions and variables outside the class also. It is not possible in Java. In Java, everything is inside the class. So if we declare a global variable like this, static int x is equal to 10, it has the internal linkage, meaning it is only visible. The static global variable has internal linkage. Means it is only visible within the file where it is declared. Where it is declared. It cannot be accessed from other files, even if they include the same header, right? And the fifth usage is similar to static variables in function. We can use static local variables inside blocks. For example, loops or control statements. In such cases, in this case also, like in our first case of static variable, here also the static local variable will retain its value between the function calls or iterations. Like in this function, if I use some if statement or some other block, if condition, and if I declare some static variable here, static int a is equal to 5, it will retain its value between different function calls or iterations, right? So these are the various uses of static keyword in C++. It will retain its value. Now let's see this practically. Let's see this practically. But before writing the practical, before creating the program, let's first recall each use. The first use is static variable in a function. We have already discussed. If we use a static variable in a function, it retains its value between various function calls. The second one is a static keyword with class variable. If we use static class variable, only one copy of that variable is created, and that single copy will be shared among the different objects. If we declare 10 objects of this class, all the objects will share the same copy, right? This also means that if we make any changes to this variable b, it will reflect to all the objects. The third one is static keyword with class function. If we use a static keyword with class function, then we can call it directly without creating the object of the class. One thing I should include, in the static class function, we can only use the static variables, the static variable for the static members. The fourth one is a static global variable. If we use a static global variable, the its scope is limited to the file, its own file. Means it has the internal linkage. It is only visible inside the file where it is declared. Now the last one is static local variables. Like our first case, here also the static variable will retain its value between function calls or iterations. So I think now you have understood the various uses of static keyword in C++. Now let's see this using a example. Let me open the online compiler. Uh, let's start from the first use that we have discussed. First, let's create a function, say display, declare a static variable inside it, static int c is equal to 0, and simply print its value. C out, prefix increment operator, and C. Next line. After this, let's create a class A, and inside class let's create a static variable static int A, normal automatic variable B, Let's use a constructor A and assign some values to the B. Uh, in place of directly assigning the value, let's use the parameterized constructor X. B is equal to X, and let's use a static function here. First, let's print the values of A and B. See out A is equal to A and B is equal to B. Now let's create the static function display this, and let's print some message static method display. Now let's come to our main method, int main. So first, let's call the display method 3 times. Display return 0. Now display one more time, display and display. Now let's first run it and see whether we are getting the expected output or no. The output is 1, 2, 3 as discussed. Now let's remove the static keyword and see what will be the output. The output should be 1, 1 and 1, because now it will not retain its value between the function call, right? So as expected, our output is 1, 1, 1. Let's write static again. Okay. So now let's create some. Okay, now first see whether we can access this static display method using the class name or not, directly or not. A scope resolution operator display. Okay, now let's run it again and see whether we are able to access the static method directly without creating any object. Now let's create some objects of the class A1, pass some value, say 2. Now let's create another variable A2, A2, 4. Let's create one more object A3 and pass 6 inside it. Okay. Now let's try to access the static variables. A1 dot A is equal to say 10. A1 dot A2 dot A is equal to 20, and A3 dot A is equal to 30. Basically, we are assigning different values to the common variable A. So what should happen here? the last value will be reflected among across all the objects. So final value that will be printed is 30, and this will prove that only one copy of the static variable is created. What is this error? Let me check. Uh, okay, okay. Uh, we forget to define this static variable outside the class. See, whenever we declare the static variable inside a class, it is mandatory to define it outside the class. So how we can define it? We can define it like this: int class name scope resolution operator a, and initialize it with some variable, with some value. Now it should work fine. So what should be the output? First, all this display method will be called. It will print 111, sorry, 123. Then this static display method will be called static method display. After this, we have set the values of the auto variables b to 2, 4, and 6. And since all the objects share the same value of static variable, the final value of a will be 30. So the output should be 32, then 34, 30, and 6. You can see as expected 1, 2, 3 static method display a is equal to 30. I have already told you that all the objects share the same copy of static method, static variable. Only one copy of the static variable is created. So this proves our all the points, and I think you have now understood the various uses of static keyword. Thank you very much.